This will be a summary, a kind of a survey over the top of McGraw-Hill Practice that we're looking at here. This is one of probably 8 products I believe McGraw-Hill has hired an outside firm to develop for them for different topics. Another one would be medical practice. They actually have a McGraw-Hill Practice for medical office for training entry level or frontline people there, training them on appropriate conversations and how to handle multitasking and things like that. This one's McGraw Hill for practice. I use a textbook along this that isn't directly connected to this, but generally follows along fairly well. And so when we talk about McGraw Hill practice, it's not even a great brand on there because it's a little bit confusing. But this one is Practice for Operations, or to broaden that out a little bit, this is simulation for a production environment, for supply chain management and operations management. And so at the top level here, I happen to be in module 6 of 6 modules here. And you can see the way that the screen, there's an area in the center here that has 5 areas of the production that goes on for the company. It shows an arrival docks for the bays for incoming material. You have some trucks waiting here to take a shipment out of here. The 5 areas of the production system or the production environment. The production floor right here, you have variable number of machines or processes that you have to go buy machines for. They have a cost and a time associated with them for performing the operations that they do, up to 7 different operations. It depends on what product you're making. You end up So you come to the desk. The idea here behind each of these areas of the 5 areas is that there's at least a desk there that you can click on. So I can click on the desk here and find out some information, for instance, on shipping. If I go to the production floor, if I come back out here, I can click on the desk and I can find out something about the production that's going on. I have to schedule up production here as soon as I get contracts. I can go to receiving, which is your order desk here. We have to find materials for the different contracts that we've been on and won. And what ends up happening is the material comes in, it gets staged at a certain location here, and you have to hire people that aren't shown yet because this is just at the beginning of the module. You have to hire people to sort the material here into cotton. We have some cotton here, nylon, wool. There's also silk and a few other materials here, silk and wool. Oh, actually, we have wool sitting there. Nylon, we have nylon sitting there. Okay, so the idea that you can move around freely, you can use a little satellite map down here. You can move over. We've already dropped in on shipping. The idea there is I can drop in also, say, on the production floor. I can click a particular machine. It can tell me about that. That's a packer, and it gives me such information as the cycle time and the cycle cost on there, and I can upgrade it. And if there's a piece missing out of here, if there's an item missing, such as the pressing for a particular garment that we decide we're going to manufacture, we might have to go buy it. So we'd have to go buy this. Okay, there's all kinds of information here. None of the information, or let's put it this way, there's no place within this scenario that all the information is on one dashboard. So you have to move around quite a bit. And so what we're looking at is really half of a solution. It's a wonderful simulation. It's pretty bulletproof right now. There's a couple of requests that I had put in, but overall, I can move through this course with my students fairly easily. This is pretty well developed. I think it's been 10 years under development, plus or minus. And the part that you need to go along with this, there's 6 modules that are treated basically on a weekly basis. That for the first 3 or 4 weeks, you have 1 module per week, and then we stick with module 4 for the rest of the course after that point, week 4 or 5. Okay, so each of the modules represents a period of some period of a year, a number of weeks. And so I'm in module 5. We have 50 turns, which are a turn is equal to a week, so it's basically a year. And if you can look down here in the lower left area, you always start out at January of the current year, and every month has 4 weeks in it. They just smooth out the entire calendar just to treat the simulation here as every week just having 4 weeks in it. Okay. Let's see, anything else here? Now, the 5 areas that we mentioned, there's a receiving where you actually also order your material. It gives you all kinds of schedules, or it gives you a schedule. I have to be careful how I say that. It gives you a schedule of arrivals, and it gives you history of what's shown up, of prices and things like that. You have a production floor where you have to have the right numbers of machinery and the right number of workers. Right now, at the beginning of the module, you're going to see there's no workers in the 3 main areas that we need them. That you'd see them standing here, and these little figures up here are your actual workers. So this idea here is for people that I'm showing this to or get to see this, is to calibrate as to what kind of simulation this is. So it's a step-by-step, week-by-week process. And what I need to do with my students is have them run in the background an analysis that we do in Microsoft Excel. So I teach Microsoft Excel as well in here. And we end up creating tables and prioritizing, or at least ordering contracts and discovering different kinds of strategic moves you can make with what kind of contracts you buy, what they are, what the profitability of them is, how fast the customer wants them in. And as you go along, you increase your reputation score, you get access to better contracts as you go through here, but you have to keep proving yourself as you move along. And basically, in what we see outside of these five areas is fairly unused area. Really, we're only looking at the five floor areas. Just a little bit of animation when a truck pulls in with a delivery. There's a cute little animation when the truck leaves, but we don't see material actually shuttling through, getting finished, and then shipped, things like that, packaged up. One of the busy areas up here is, okay, so I talked about the lower. We have ordering, receiving, we have production floor, we have the shipping area. One comment about receiving is we have a staging area here. So the product comes in generic brown boxes, and we have to have people assigned inside receiving to sort that out to these six different pallets, depending on whether it's the cotton, nylon, wool. There's three other materials that you can use. The production floor, we can see there's a total of 7 processes that you have to have machines for. From time to time, there's a core group that all contracts and all garments need. There's a core group to that. Right now, we're only showing 2 machines here. Very quickly, we're going to have to buy a third and a fourth. Usually, you need about 4 machines to get through most contracts. But what we see down here at the bottom in this area is you're allowed to rack up 6 contracts at a time. And right now, as soon as we enter into this module, we have a contract that I call we're stuffed with. It's sitting down here. These are sort of like playing card area down here where you're going to end up with hopefully constant for most of the game. You're going to have these filled up with contracts, different garments that you're working on. And again, we've seen to navigate around, we can use this lower right. There's a satellite view of the floors here, which you can move around. Click home, you can come up to the top. Above us, or the marketing, there's a marketing area, contracts and marketing. We have a human resource area here. Human resource is fairly straightforward. We can come in here, we can see what's going on. We can always click on any of these desks. We haven't done anything yet. So in human resources, there is nothing in here yet. There's no history. There's no current employees at all. Nothing's happening in the factory. In fact, I have volume on my computer, and normally when there's things being produced on the production floor, you'll hear the background machinery working. And at first I thought that was just a cute ad for the simulation, but then I realized it was actually a cue when certain things don't go right and there's starvation happening or some kind of blocking on the production floor. So the sound actually became very useful after I started working with this for a while. Then within human resources, we can look at the history, the current status and the history of hiring, who we have on the floor, what costs we have. And then we have candidates here. So coming into this as the first round, we can look lower left here, turn 1 of 50. Again, we have 50 weeks to go ahead. And what we can do is we can sort through or rotate through some of these candidates that we have, which show strengths for the receiving and shipping area, the machine operations, client relations, and a strength associated with them and a cost. And so throughout the game, the different modules, you have to staff the floors and you can move people around. You can hire, you can fire. Fire comes with a penalty of 2 weeks' pay. So toward the end of the game, if you're getting down to the last couple of stages, then there might not be a big reason to lay somebody off because you're going to pay for their salaries anyway. You can also train them. And so part of the strategy within this is to figure out whether it's better to fire somebody and hire somebody with better, fire somebody that's not performing, hire somebody with the right skills, or train them up. And so training takes them offline for a couple of weeks. You're paying salary for them, and then they come back with some kind of improved rating here for the whatever it is they're receiving, their machine or their client operations type of thing. Okay. If we come over to marketing, so you can see that there's a lot of factors, many factors, and many places that we have to go search for information. There's at least, I mean, on the order of 15, 16 different places within here that you have to go and find these little dashboards and collect information. So we can come over here for contracts. Let's see. So our current contracts, this is listing our current contracts. We have socks in the hopper. And when you look at this, you can find such things as how many we need to make, at what quality. That's the quality of the material that we have to get, what the unit price is that the customer's paying, how many weeks that we have, gives us the due date. And so this isn't recorded anywhere else. And that's why we need to run a parallel path over Microsoft Excel with some profitability and schedule analysis that we have over there. It gives us the contract value. Okay, tells us what tasks we need. So we'd have to run off and buy one of these machines. We know there's only two machines on the floor right now. We'd have to buy another one because socks take they take cutting, sewing, and packing, and I believe there's only two machines out there right now. We'd have to stock up right away or order that up for the next week. Okay, so we can also take a look at completed contracts. So I'm not going to go through all of these. I just want to give you an idea that the information is not consolidated in one area. And so the first three modules take the student through clicking through a lot of these areas to get a feel for what you can find there. This is a marketing desk, which is interesting because you can buy marketing research. We'll tell you a little bit about your clients, but one of the things that students end up using quite a bit is you can find for every product that you're capable of making, and that's static in the stimulation or simulation, that you only can build, I think it's on the order of 25 different products. It's not as though we add new products or delete products as we go along. We just have a number of products that we can make, and we have to check the contracts that come in, the requests for proposals or requests for quote RFQs that come in to match up profitability and schedule to our overall production schedule so that we can actually make some money in there. So when we look through products, these windows are created very good. The user experience is very good in this simulation. I'm sure it didn't come all at once, but you have not only tabs across the top, but if I want to understand a product, if I'm about to bid on a product that might need to have a little bit more information on it, I can go look at all denim products. So the tabs down the left are by material, and across the top we have some tabs that show different areas of research. But in denim, we have low-rise jeans, we have designer jeans, we have a denim jacket. Only three products in there. And as students go through it, they understand whether these are in general profitable or not compared to khaki products and silk products. And that is actually the guidance that an instructor has to give, is to lead them in understanding they have to figure out what strategies there are by profitability and impacts from schedule. Some of these have long cycle times. Some of these have a high material cost. Some of them weigh a lot. Your shipping depends on the weight of the product. There are a lot of variables even speaking about this right now, and that's why the course quickly, within after the first time that I used this, we quickly moved over to using a Microsoft Excel analysis, which is the basis of their term project, which they have to write a report for, and they have to explain all the conclusions that they've made, or all the observations and strategy decisions they've made throughout the entire process. So I just wanted to give a quick overview. This probably ran longer than 10 minutes, but this is a pretty rich environment to work in. And I think I'm now on about the 17th time, 16th or 17th time I've actually offered it in a class. It's a shoe in. It's my go-to teaching mechanism for operations. One of the things that happens here is I make sure that students do not leave without being able to run a business. You would think that a student coming through either undergrad, adult program, or MBA level would be able to take a look at something like this and be able to get their arms around it, understand the variables, come up with a system of managing it week to week. Besides the Microsoft, I'm sorry, the no, the Microsoft Excel analysis that we do, I also have them explain a checklist. Okay, so we use checklists in here so that they don't leave before they finish their checklist on an end of term checklist, and on the way in that they check the status of many things that they've done in the previous section. So this is you load up your decisions, and then you click end turn, and they all come to play. And the cams and gears all spin in the background here. And as you come into the next week, the results of your decisions will have been made. In a way, it's a little bit like making decisions on a Friday at 5 o'clock, and then after you click end turn, coming in on a Monday at 8 in the morning. That's the effect that has here. So Monday on 8 in the morning, you look at your status again of all the elements, and then you make some new decisions. You go get some more contracts. You make sure everything's going through production. You make sure everything's shipping. You actually have to tell the products to go ship themselves and such. But it's a very rich environment, and it's really worked out for me.